You saw it today, witness intimidation in real time by the President of the United States. Once again, going after this dedicated and respected career public servant in an effort to not only chill her, but to chill others who may come forward. We take this kind of witness intimidation and obstruction of inquiry very seriously.
That Chairman Adam Schiff speaking during the first break in the hearing. He was referring to these tweets where the president in real time attacked Ms. Yovanovitch and her record of public service. A lot of legal experts now jumping all over that. One former federal prosecutor told Business Insider, quote, Trump's attacks are exactly the type of action and words mobsters use to attack straight arrow government witnesses, though mobsters don't use Twitter. Another one said, quote, any federal judge would lose their mind if a defendant threatened a witness in their courtroom. Joining us now, one of our favorite former federal prosecutors, Gene Rossi. Gene, so much to unpack here, but let me start off with how the case has been laid out to this point, because we always use the expression, I think it's the right one. 40% have made up their mind, you know, to throw the book at him. 40% said, I'll put my red hat on and don't touch the guy. It's for the 20%. I know these are foundational and you build up, but have they been successful in laying the groundwork for wherever this thing goes?
Yes, and any federal prosecutor worth their salt, and I did it for 30 years, you have to have a theory of the case. The theory of this case is arms for dirt. And when you have a theory, you have to explain motive, opportunity, and means. And the president and his conspirators, and this is a conspiracy involving Rudy Giuliani and others, including the president. The motive was, we got to get rid of Marie Yovanovitch because she is not in our camp. We want somebody who's basically a sycophant and will work with the corrupt people in Ukraine to get dirt on Biden and his son. The opportunity is simple. I have about $400 million, which is 10% of Ukraine's military budget, including javelins, which were very important to fight the Russians. The means is easy. We're going to hold up that money, and we're not going to release it until we have to. And the only reason they release that money, Richard, the only reason is that the Congress was asking Trump, why is the money being held up? And within 1 or 2 days, a New York Minute, he released it because he got caught. When a bank robber enters a bank with conspirators and they got guns and masks and a note, and they're caught, it's still attempted bank robbery. Just because they didn't get the money doesn't mean they're not criminals. Donald Trump today, with that tweet, did so many things. The number one thing he did was he corroborated everybody's fear that if you go against Donald Trump, like Don Corleone, bad things can happen.
Put that to a real example, Gene. But Gene, let me put that to a practical example. Next week, I laid out for the folks the witnesses we're going to be hearing over Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. To me, you kind of know what you're going to get from Vinland. He's going to be a straight ramrod military guy, and he's kind of going to be in the same camp from the three folks we heard from this week. Public servants, almost to a fault, that they won't be reality TV people. It's just the facts, and they even retain some of the emotion, even if their careers were destroyed in the process. But now we get to a guy who I said's got a spine more like a piece of linguine, and that's Sunland, okay? He's already flipped twice. So my point is, you're this guy now. You know the two folks that I witnessed, the dingbat probably put it on speakerphone, him talking to Trump, and Trump saying, I don't care about corruption. I want dirt on the Bidens. Two people will testify, as long as the subpoena comes down here, that in fact happened. So my question to you is, where do you think Sunland goes? This was a guy who went in his pocket to be an ambassador. He's not a lifetime guy. Do you think he's going to have devastating testimony, or do you think he's going to run scared because he don't want to cross the president?
I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to run scared, but he is going to tell the truth. The only problem with Sunland is this. He's given testimony like a weather vane. He changes with the wind. And I want to go to polenta. He has a spine like a bowl of polenta. Forget the linguine. And the other thing about Sondland is he is a conspirator. He is involved in a bribery. And this is textbook bribery. Quid pro quo. Arms for dirt. And he's given various versions of what he knew and when, and he's going to have an epiphany, and the prosecutors at Maine Justice, if they're not dead by now, are going to be watching that testimony and saying, is he going to testify untruthfully or truthfully? And I got to tell you this, one of the key witnesses in this whole saga could be Mr. Holmes, who's being deposed, I think, either today or tomorrow, and here's why. He corroborates immensely everything that's been said, but he heard what the president said, and he heard what a conspirator Sondland said after that call, which, by the way, was probably recorded by Putin's cronies.
Forgetting even the unbelievably tone deafness when it comes to security aspects with a non-secure line. All right, so I got 4 minutes, and this is what I want you to break down. 2 things that I think will happen next, and give a preview to the audience. One is, we've seen it with Watergate, we saw it with Clinton. Where they start is never where they end. This thing, with depending on testimony that comes out or evidence that comes out, it goes off in so many different directions, 1. And 2, if you ever wanted to give a lesson to a loved one, you are the company you keep. I believe this will come home to roost. The president says and demands loyalty from people, but he has shown none in return. And that lack of even transactional loyalty, if you are Rudy, who now is looking at some major criminal exposure potentially, if you're Roger Stone, who got convicted on all 7 counts, and if you're a litany of the other folks, like even a Sondland right now, they're doing the math in their head. Is the president going to come with a pardon for me? Is this going to happen maybe for him before the election's over, where he can or can't do it? To be a fly on the wall. You're Roger Stone, who has the ethics of a flea, okay? You're Rudy right now, who, my God, is flipped on everybody when he's given an opportunity. That's what would concern me most of all if I'm Donald Trump, let alone the tax returns and everything else that will probably come out. Talk about what's not going on in the hearings right now, but how they could color how this process goes forward.
Well, let's focus on Roger Stone. You can't make this up, Richard. Of all the days in the world for Roger Stone to be found guilty of 7 out of 7 counts, and he didn't lie to protect himself. He lied to protect Donald Trump, just like a mafia don. So that happened today, and it doesn't have a lot to do with what Marie Yovanovitch said, but it sort of reinforces the culture, the code of conduct, the unwritten code of rules that you have to follow if you are in Trump world. But let's focus on Roger Stone, what he must be thinking right now. If I were Roger Stone, I would probably call the prosecutors and offer cooperation on what really happened. What really happened in the Tower meeting in June of 2016. What did Donald Trump know? What did the president know? And you can't use Roger Stone as a witness, but he could possibly direct you to emails, to documents, to intel. And I would offer my cooperation to the prosecutors and hope they accept it. Here's why. There is no way Donald Trump will pardon Roger Stone, because if he does, that itself could be an article of impeachment. Going back to Nixon, one of the things that Nixon was doing was dangling pardons over people that were cooperating, and that was part of the impeachment process. Now let's go to the other flunkies in this whole saga. We got Michael Flynn. He's still out there. You know, Paul Manafort, I guess he's still helping Trump from jail. I can't believe how many close people to the president have been found guilty of lies, false statements, and corrupt behavior. Then we now get to Rudy. Rudy is slowly becoming a target of the Southern District of New York. I'll repeat that. He is slowly becoming a target of the Southern District of New York. If that ever happened to me, I would be sweating bullets. They don't play nice. They play hardball on steroids. And here's the problem with Rudy. He may be involved in possible money laundering, and he may be involved in this bribery scheme. Actually, he is, if you take all the facts. And the third thing is, he may have violated the Foreign Agent Registration Act, for which Manafort and others have pleaded guilty or were convicted of. So if I were Rudy Giuliani, I'd be thinking the same thing as Roger Stone. This guy, Donald Trump, isn't going to protect me. I have to think of me. I can't wait for him. So there are three people who aren't sleeping tonight.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, Roger Stone, and Rudy Giuliani.
And you know what? They all deserve each other. Gene, we got so much more to talk about. They don't have any more time, though. But next week, you and me, let's do this again. Thank you, my friend.
All right. Have a great weekend.
You too. When we come back, we're going to have reaction to the hearings from Trump's own journalists, lawmakers, and more. Stay with us.